Hi guys, it's Kathy, Mrs. Handy Are You? I'm back again. I saw an interesting post from Ezra Cohen-Watnick. He was and is in the Trump administration. He was and is acting Secretary of Defense. He was born 5/18/86. So there's an 18 there. And a 5 is like comms, right? And grace. He's 35 years old, like POTUS 35, JFK. And as far as I can tell, he's a Kennedy grandkid, and I really think he's John's son. So that's just my opinion. I don't know for sure or anything like that. So I'm just giving you his background so you know that this is an important guy to follow on Telegram. He gives really interesting videos and comms and opinions, and I think he's super important in the whole scheme of things. So he went to the University of Pennsylvania, and supposedly, from what I can tell, that's where John, when he's playing Vincent Fusca, that's where they make it sound like he's from. I don't know, whatever. Let's see. And Ezra reported to Representative Devin Nunes way back when all the surveilling was going on before he was President Trump. He was reporting that the campaign was being, spied on. And I think it's okay to say that now. Back then it wasn't okay, but I think it's okay now to say that. Anyway, so he looks just like one of the Kennedy grandkids who sang the song Timber, Timber. Maybe that's how you say it. It's on YouTube and probably other platforms like Rumble. And the song goes, "Timber, you're going down." And so they all sang it, and they were in different locations, and they kind of sang it together. And it really did look like him, as far as I can tell. And most of us think it was him, Ezra. And there's a couple of reasons that they could have been singing Timber, You're Going Down, was George H.W. Bush's Secret Service name was Timberwolf. Also, Mr. Cottrell, who is the man who really we should be listening to also. He's the one who enters the codes from the Golden Dragons to reset the global currency, so the GCR. And he had all kinds of things taken from him by George H.W. Bush. He owned the Delmarva Timber Trust. There's only one thing that happened, but he owned the Delmarva Timber Trust, and H.W. stole it from him. He just stole it from him. I don't know how that happened, but he did. He stole it from him. So basically, all his property was taken away from him, and it happened more than once that H.W. took things from Mr. Cottrell. And I think that's partly why Mr. Cottrell was the one who's chosen to enter the codes for the GCR. So anyway, as you know, I use simple gematria, or gematria, because that's how other people say it that know better than I do. So I'm going to try to change to gematria, but forgive me if I go back and forth or just say it the wrong way. So it's hard to change a habit once you started it. So simple gematria is A equals 1 and all the way down to Z equals 26. You can figure it out on the fly using Tom Number's Trumpology product, which is only $17 after our favorite Anon. It's after all of his videos at Psych Club, PSYCH. And it helps you with a workbook and a little, like a little online tutorial to help you figure out your birth date, your anniversary, your name, or people important in your family. And then, you know, you'll be able to do it on your own. I tend to use gematrix.org a little more often because my memory is not good, especially right now. I'm waiting for my upgrade, DNA upgrade, brain upgrade. After all this happens, everything gets wonderful again. Yeah, and all the things stolen from us are returned, like including our wonderful DNA. So his gematria is 176 for his whole name, Ezra Cohen Watnick, and it's Watnick. So that equals 176 equals POTUS is saying level playing field. So anytime he has a saying that he's, you know, says over and over again, or in the past or now, it's important and you should look it up. Like programs that he's enacted, look that up, and you'll see what he's really saying from the name of the program or the phrase. So let's see, level playing field. Another one is end time prophecy. September 18, so there's an 18 in there. And you know, 18 is R for our favorite, well, do we call him our favorite Anon now? I guess we call 17 our favorite Anon, and 18's the tide, right? So end time prophecy, also Back to the Future. So we're talking, you know, time travel all the time. Ray Edward December, it's DEC 7. And that goes back to Ray Edward Kasija. And I don't, like I always say, I don't know if I'm saying that last name right, but you know, I'm doing the best I can. It's Koceja. It's in just about every decode I do. Is his birthday December 7th. I think it's the name that John is using, possibly, you know, John was using. Because we know that now, we know that December 7 was Christ's birthday, and that's John's birthday. I'm just sure of it. Then then again, after that one is Ray Kosija birthday. So like I said, it's always coming up. And then another POTUS phrase, wash your hands. Remember, everybody gave him grief when he said, wash your hands, when the mystery illness came around. But it equals all these things that I just said. So when he says wash your hands, he's saying end time prophecy, you know? He's saying all these things. Ray Edward, December 7th. You can look at it that way. And another match to Ezra's name, 176, is the Little Prince. And you know how we always look at John as the Little Prince of Camelot. That's what they called the JFK family. They called them, you know, it was like Camelot. And there's ties to Camelot. I mean, King Arthur and all that, that wasn't fake, that was real. I'm sure POTUS was at the round table, probably heading it, and all these people were sitting there. They're all knights of the round table, and POTUS was King Arthur, I'm just sure. So, yeah. Let's see, what else am I missing? I got, yeah, Devin Nunes, and I got all those notes. So we'll move those. So this is the post that Ezra did. He calls himself Ghost Ezra on Telegram. And it was the 20th that I saw this. And he posted a really old Trump tweet. So that was significant, that it was a really old one. And you can do gematria on tweets, and letters and all that stuff. People talking, you can do that on any of those things. Newspaper articles, you could do it on any of it. So this was an old Trump tweet from 2014. It was a while ago. So he's been talking about this stuff for a long time in code. It was on the 3/28, 2014. And if you add up 328, it's 3 plus 2 plus 8 plus 1. Let's see, yeah. Oh, did I do it wrong? Plus 4 equals 18R. R is JFK Jr. So, and it was at 7:35 a.m. So we're talking about 7 is the perfect number, and 35 is JFK, POTUS 35. So President Trump's tweet said, healthy young child goes to doctor, gets pumped with massive shot of many vaccines, doesn't feel good, and changes. And then he says, autism in capital letters. Many such cases. So then I looked at the capital letters in the tweet. That was H for healthy, all the letters in autism, and then M for many. And I put that in gematrix.org. And you guys can do this. It's super easy. Let's see. So all the capitals equal 104, which is POTUS JFK's age right now. And he's alive, you know that, right? So he's 104. That 104 equals JFK, not JFK Jr. JFK is alive. So President Trump has been telling us for a long time, JFK is alive. It also equals JFK Jr. is, not is, but I'm sorry, JFK Jr. alive. Testify. And I'm sure these people are going to testify, and they've probably already testified in these secret military tribunals about what happened to them, what they tried to do to them, like Hillary and George trying to 86 our junior with the plane. So, yeah. 2 or more witnesses. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Old friend back. So an old friend comes back, right? Grateful Dead. I think that's a funny one. Grateful Dead. Then I'm the Lord. And it's true. It's true. Moonwalk for Michael Jackson. He's alive too. I'll get to that in a little while. And there was a fake moonwalk. Didn't happen. Then we have Mr. Jackson from Michael Jackson. This is all matching POTUS's tweet again, 104. J.D. Tippit, Tippit. And he was the, I don't know if he was a sergeant, but he was the policeman from Dallas that was killed immediately after JFK was supposedly shot. So he was the one that likely was on the operating room table and not JFK. And his nickname was Jack because he looked just like Jack Kennedy. So they had, seems like the good guys are the ones that had this all organized, but I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. December 8 matches 104. April Fool. And all these guys, JFK, POTUS, JFK Jr., they're all jokers. And that's what that means, I think. April Fool. And also 107 had said, that bet he had with the wine and the dinner or something like that, about by April Fool's Day, anybody who voted for Biden would be a fool. And we all thought it would be last April, this year, 2021, but I think it might be this coming year, 2022. Then we have 104 is also insurance, like life insurance. False news, fake news, that people were DEAD. Jedi Master, that's POTUS right there. Barber shop. Now I took that as for me, you know, like I look at things like that. My dad was a barber for a very long time. And also you can look at barbershop as on, I can't remember what year it was, but it was a little while ago on WWE, the wrestling. President Trump, well, he wasn't president then, but he and Vince McMahon, and it's Vince Kennedy McMahon, so he's a Kennedy. You probably didn't know that, but there was a bet that they had, and if POTUS won, Donald Trump won, it's hard to get this straight, he would get to shave Vince McMahon's hair off. And he did win. Oh no, it was vice versa. If Vince McMahon had won, he would have shaved POTUS's hair off, you know, which would have been traumatic. So, you know, Donald Trump won. He, up on the ring, he shaved off Vince McMahon's hair. It was really funny. So that's, you know, partly what barbershop means, I think. So dead ringers, and that's like for the lookalikes that are acting through all this, or the clones, whoever they are. And DNA awakening. And our DNA is going to awaken. It's going to be awesome. The part that, you know, the scientists call junk DNA is not junk, and it's going to be working again, and life is going to get a lot better. And then these things go back to my theory, which I'm like 100-something% sure that this is what's going to happen, because it just comes up in Decode so many times that, you know, like our favorite Anon says, nothing's a coincidence. There just isn't any. So I think this will be the faked passing, I guess you would say, of our POTUS. So every time I say it, it's really awkward because I feel like I'm shocking people. But if you haven't watched this before, yeah. So anyway, this all matches with that. Really, I think it's a really important Trump tweet that we've been decoding, the 104, the stuff he said about the autism. So anyway, these all match. Beyond belief. Donald, code red, like running to the operating room or emergency, you know, whatever, code red. Simulated. Blackouts. Have bad news. Like, this has to be what's going on. I really think it's all been planned forever. Like, this is 7 years ago that this Trump tweet came out. And it all matches this, you know. Rumors. Barely awake. Death is near. Storms. Fall of the cabal. Masquerade. It's all acting. Death notice. Kill list. Never mind. Like, okay, never mind. A perfect day, which is what 107's movie is with Jennifer Mack. You can watch that online if you haven't seen it. It's so funny. It's got all kinds of comms in it, but it's also really funny. It's about an hour long. You really have to watch it. A perfect day. So never mind. Perfect day. Restored. So after all that, restored. I am source. Yes, he is. He's source. So it's going to be all fake. And when Kim Clement, he's a prophet, and so many of the things he said are true that have happened. Kim Clement said when things look I'm not sure the exact wording, but when things are at their worst, boom, the dinar. So I can't think of anything worse than, well, yeah, the fake flooding, the volcanoes and all that I'm always talking about, but POTUS looking like he died. And I think it might be poisoning. I don't know. I've had that come up a lot. So, you know, that would be the worst. Sorry about the noise. Let's see. So if you haven't heard of Negative 48, you really need to look into that. Negative 48 is on Telegram. He's also on lots of shows lately. So you can see him on, you know, YouTube and everything. If you don't have Telegram or you don't want to get it. But it's really worth it to get Telegram. Just for him, really. He's been on Tom Number's show at least a couple of times, I think. And they've become good friends over the last few weeks. And they both do gematria. I'm trying to say gematria. And he's more than just an add-on. You know, he's not just Negative 48. So when he was on Tom's show, I think it might be the last time, I take a lot of notes, obviously. And I like to write down timestamps for when people say things. And I look at, like if it said 55 or 15 seconds or minutes, it's probably something super important that you should pay attention to. So I'll let things, you know, play on the video, and then I'll keep stopping it and looking at what timestamp it is and see, should I figure out what they're saying or decode it. So I noticed that Negative 48 said something at 1. I always pay attention to 107, and I pay attention to 35s. So, you know, well, it's not really 107, but 107, 107, and 35 for JFK. Anyway, so I wrote down what he said at that exact moment. He started saying, I remember exactly what I said. And I just knew, because of the timestamp and what he said, that was a big deal. And that equals 272. And it's so cool because he has it's not just regular chat where you just type in and talk back and forth with people in the chat group. It's also a voice chat where you can, you know, hear each other and talk. So I don't think there's a definite time set for when he comes on his chat at Negative 48, but you know, it seems to come on in the afternoon and the evening at some point, probably if he has time. And I got to talk to him about this. I got to talk to him about this quote. And so I'm super excited. I got to talk to him, you know, one-on-one. And I talked to him about a couple of other things. Anyway, so when you decode that, I remember exactly what I said. It was 272 equals 2022, and we're supposed to follow the twos. Tom always says that. Anything that's got twos in it, especially a couple or three, right here, it's definitely something important. The final mystery revealed. Oh, and I forgot, when I talked to him, he asked me a couple of questions about Jesus. You know, and I wish I'd written down what he had asked me, but I didn't. I was kind of too excited. And he said, out of the decoding that you have for what I said, he knew I was decoding what he said at 107:35. So he knew I was doing this. And that's what I was talking to him about. He asked about Jesus. And he said, okay, now that you have that question, or something like that, out of all the decodes that you have, what seems an appropriate answer or match? So I gave him the final mystery revealed. Great things are being prepared. and we know that. It's very exciting. Jesus Christ, second coming. President Trump, Messiah. A secret that is good and true. The reincarnation of Christ. See the writing on the wall. And you know, God wrote on the wall to the king, and then the king was gone. So that was pretty exciting. And yeah, so I can't even tell you how excited I was. I thought I was going to pop. Let's see. And I talked to him about the, the Savinian Caracostia that I told you about in the last video. Yeah, he was, let's see. Well, he came up anyway, and I talked to him about that and how I found Savinian, which is Savin, right? 107 online, and it was savien.com, and you really should look at that. It's definitely Juan, who's John. And there are magazines. You can order magazines, which are not the regular magazines you know about already. You can get maps, and they're called Quantum Crumbs. And they're about the best bagels in New York City and all these silly things. But I know it was him, you know. And I got it because of the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin. I'm going back, kind of backwards, but... And the movie Roxanne was about Cyrano de Bergerac. And when you look up Cyrano de Bergerac, you find out that his real name was Savinian, Caracostia. The first name was Savinian, and the last name was Caracostia. And I don't think I said it right at all, but whatever. Yeah, so that was exciting. So we talked about that. So Negative and I talked about that. And then I'm skipping around a little bit because, well, it's too hard to explain. I'm just skipping around a little bit. After I talked to him, I was looking at, or maybe it was before, I was looking at what the Babylonian calendar's New Year's was, because of something Juan said not that long ago. And he had said, let's see, he said their, meaning the Satanists, bad guys, Cabal's New Year would not be a happy one for them. So I was thinking, okay, well, what does that mean? When is that? And it won't be happy for them. And they used the Babylonian calendar, which is the Jewish calendar. So I looked up when their New Year's was coming up, and it is September 6th, the night of September 6th through 8th. So something's happening either right before that or after that. I don't know. And I don't know if we'll know about it, but when he said their New Year won't be a good one, like, it's got to be something to do with that. It's like their New Year's Day. I don't know if they call it that. And then, and another person to follow, excuse me, is, if you don't already, is George News. If you follow JFK Jr. and all that stuff, you probably know about George News. He has all the news going on. He posts all the POTUS statements since he's supposedly out of office. He puts out a lot of statements that are in letter form, and George posts every single one of them. And I'm sure George is white hats, and hopefully it's John and Carolyn and all these other people, but you know, I don't know for sure. And George has a nightly chat. Sometimes it's earlier in the evening, sometimes it's like 11 or 12 at night. Lately it seems to be earlier. So if you want to get on and talk to people of the same like mind, you can do that and chat back and forth, which is good if you're kind of by yourself, and it's encouraging. and people give each other information, and sometimes George pops in, and that's pretty cool. So anyway, George posted a POTUS statement, and at the end of the POTUS statement, he said, all in caps, he said, "Do you miss me yet?" Right? And that equals, because it was all in caps. When, you don't even have to do caps. You can just do, it's a phrase that you think is important or jumps out at you. You can do the phrase and enter it into gematrix.org, or you can figure it out using Trumpology. So anyway, the value is 208. And honestly, I think this one was for me. I really do. I couldn't believe this. Well, I do believe it. So we have a new grandchild, a little one that just turned 1, and her name is spelled differently. It's Evelyn, but it's EvelyNN. So it's kind of like, it's like Eva Lynn. There's a family name that's Lynn. Anyway, so "Do you miss me yet?" equals Evelyn with, the word with, Evelyn with Lynn. That's for me, I was so excited. And then I'm always talking to you about the Clouseau channel, Clouseeau, 1S. And I love it. It's great. It shows all the people who are not passed away behind POTUS in different rallies. And I was at one of them, so it's very exciting. One of the rallies that ended up on a Clouseau video. So anyway, fake deaths. So another match is fake deaths of celebrities. And there's one that is called a JFK, Kennedy family reunion. And it's got so many members of the Kennedy family. It's got JFK there at a different age. Probably in his 40s. I don't know, but he's up in the back. And Caroline is there, Carolyn's there too, but Caroline, John's sister, is there, and she's got something in her mouth, and she's got some kind of things on her cheeks and stuff, but you can tell who it is, and especially because of the Rolex, and they mentioned that in the video. She wears a great big Rolex all the time. So yeah, so another match, so besides fake deaths of celebrities, I feel like that's for me, because I'm always talking about Clouseau, always. I tell everybody to look at it, and it's fun. And I have really big feet, I'm very tall, I have really big feet. And I talk about it a lot, right? And it says, another match to 208, big shoes, that's so funny. Big shoes, Another one is March 22, and that's my husband's birthday. So look at all this. It's all stuff that is pertaining directly to my family. Follow the numbers, and then we got Tom numbers, right? We're friends. It's just funny. And Gematria is numbers. It's all the language of numbers, and God's language is numbers. And he's talking to us through this. That's the whole point of all this, is he's communicating to us. It's awesome. It's awesome. Then we have New York tsunami. Now you could look at it different ways. New York, something big happens in news, there's huge news. But I also think that, as you probably know, there's going to be the white hat false flags when we think we're in nuclear war, and it'll look like on our phones tsunamis and earthquakes everywhere, and all the earthquakes in the United States are blowing. And so I talk about that all the time in New York tsunami matches. And by the Gematria database, I haven't done that yet. I really should. What if it goes offline? that would freak me out, man. Then King of the Universe, that's POTUS, King of the Universe. And you know, he's not just saving America, he's saving the world. And something else interesting about the Gematria, well, I should say Gematrix, whatever, .org. I'm going to have a hard time saying the pronunciation. On the bottom, it says C2KB on the bottom, like who wrote it, maybe? And it makes me think of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. And everything's always scrambled up and anagrammed. So it could have been Carolyn that wrote this whole database, because she's one of these Pleiadian people. I just know it. So I'm going back to negative 48. Yeah. So this is where I mean, I've been thinking stuff's been going on with December 7th for a while now because of my Raymond Edward Kasija character that pops up all the time. And now I realize it's John. Yeah. So Negative said, he gives all kinds of intel. He said, when he was on with Tom Numbers, that, yeah, he didn't say John Jr., but he said, oh, sorry, POTUS. Oh, sorry. I might have that wrong. I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to go back to look at this. POTUS's real birthday. It's 12/7/45. Huh. I'm going to have to figure this part out. Don't take me for that. So when you anagram Ray Edward Kasija, it equals Jack ordered away. And that means that somebody above, you know, POTUS 35, JFK, somebody above him is our POTUS, told him, you know, don't be in the car. We're going to have a substitute, a clone, whatever, in the car. And I know everybody saw what happened, and I'm thinking it was a clone, you know, because that technology's been around a long time. It's not like it just happened. And that's why it looked like real, you know. So Jack ordered away. Let's see, where else? Oh, and this was a good one. Yeah. The pose. Was it? Yeah. The pose. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think I'll skip that one. Oh, another thing. I keep thinking of things you guys should look at. I know this is really disjointed. I'm sorry. There's a YouTube video series, and it's by, I'll just spell it. It starts with G-O-D, God, but then it goes on. G-O-D, G-E-V-L-A-M-A-S-T-E. Gojvlamasti is the way I look at it. It equals 131. Now, the reason I'm talking about that is because he has a series called Crater Earth. And I won't go into all that now, but I always wondered about this YouTube series because to me, that's what's going on, Crater Earth. And I won't go into all that now. This will be way too long. But 131 is John F. Kennedy. So I'm pretty sure this guy's got it right about his theory about Crater Earth. So you should probably look into that. Yeah. Oh, and I think it was the 18th. I talked to Negative. I can't remember now. This was so cool. He said that Tesla was 57. It's simple gematria again. And human is 57. He said, we're all Tesla coils. That was like so amazing to even hear that. So we're all Tesla coils. Like, full of news, like, and he said, we're not awake yet. It's probably going to be a long, ongoing process. Even if we think we've woken up, it's going to take a while. And he was talking about in our favorite Anon's post, he's, wait till you learn who you've been talking to here. Probably JFK, or it's a combination of Junior, JFK, and POTUS, and likely Carolyn. I don't know. But 174 equals we haven't finished yet. And 174 is also JFK Jr. as promised. So that's pretty neat. He said Il Donaldo Trumpo is POTUS posting. So that's really exciting. I mean, I thought it was, but then I kind of waffle back and forth. Is it really him posting after he got deleted? And the white hats have control over all social media. And most of the news, I think, at this point, there's, I think, some undercurrent that's not, on board yet. And they're still trying to mess things up. But at this point, and I know it doesn't seem like it, but yeah, they've got control over it. And anything that keeps coming out that seems like really awful is the white hats doing it on purpose, because they're trying to wake up people. And these odd stories that keep popping up, if you look at the numbers involved in the stories, or you listen to the reporter, you're probably going to find out that it's our favorite Anon type numbers. You'll hear 17,000, 18,000, 18 for R, and just all kinds of things like that. Or you'll hear a 5, and then a few minutes later you have another 5, and that's a 5-5 for JFK Jr., or it's also for clear comms. So if you pay attention, you'll probably notice that, and it's easier in written articles, but you can listen for it too on the news. The news. We're the news now, so forget the news. Yeah. Yeah, he's, how 223 is the skull and bones number? 223? Well, on 322, because, sorry. Boy, I'm getting things messed up. This is not good. Yeah, 322 is the Georgia Guidestones were put up. So it's all coded. Okay. This is my theory. I've mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it again. This is what I think is going on with the Jubilee. So in the old days, the Jewish people, every 7 years, they'd have a Jubilee. And it would take that on the 7th year, they would have to depend on God for their livelihood, or, they couldn't farm, they couldn't do whatever it was where they earned money. So they had to either save up and just depend on God, and kind of just everything all combined, and depend on each other and God was working through each other, the people. So it'd be 1 year of depending on God for the 7-year Jubilee. But there was a bigger 50th Jubilee, and Juana Saban has talked about this before, and that's how I know about it. There was the big Jubilee, and there was a 50th Jubilee because 50th, because if your inheritance was like what you should have inherited from your parents, your family, was kind of gambled away or sold off, or you didn't get the inheritance, then everything would revert back for the 50th Jubilee. So if the family sold something off, it had to come back to the family. So even if you sold property or something like that, or something, like maybe even equipment. I don't know. I don't know what they did back then, but so if you sold, say, your property or your home, and you sold it for too little money because you were desperate, then your kids or your grandkids didn't get anything. This would kind of bring everything back to where it should be, because you should have an inheritance from your family. That's the way things are supposed to be. And anyway, so for the 50th Jubilee, the big one, you had to depend on God for 2 years, not 1 year, as in the 7-year Jubilee. So as far as I know, our big shutdowns for the mystery illness started in March and last year. So that means that we would be waiting 2 years from then, and that would be March 2 years ago. I don't even know. All I know is I figured out, I'm tired. This coming year in March, it would be 2 years. So 2022, and that kind of makes sense because we're supposed to follow the twos. And another reason it makes sense is 322, March 2022, Skull and Bones number. And it would be really interesting if it happened on, like I just decoded one with March 22nd, which is my husband's birthday. What if it happened March? So that would be 3, the year 2022. But what if it happened on 3/22/22? And then the global currency reset happened, which kicks Nasara and Jasara in. So I know it seems annoying to be waiting, but we'll make it, and we should take care of each other and help each other. And if anybody needs help, let me know. We'll try to network or something, So anyway, so yeah, it started March 2020. Sorry. I don't know why I'm having such issues with dates and things. I remember when POTUS said we will get our country back. Well, just the word back equals 17, which equals our favorite or non. So, and then when it happens, Mr. Cottrell enters the codes and it all goes through. So that's exciting. Yeah. Okay. This is what I was getting messed up earlier. So POTUS's birthday is 12/7. We always thought it was Flag Day. We had a big, we all were all online saying happy birthday for Flag Day this past June 14th. But Michael, -48, he said that POTUS, I don't know if I think he meant that POTUS was switched at birth. I don't know if you know, but people put children or babies into different families to try to get them into different positions. I know that sounds weird, but that's probably what happened with him, to get him in the right position to do what he had to do for his next life, kind of, So that's probably what happened. So that's his real birthday. And that's, yeah. Anyway, so maybe he was Raymond Edward Casija. Gosh, it's so confusing. I don't blame you if you turn it off right now. So Michael said Jesus's birthday was 9/11. And that's where I was kind of having second thoughts when I was talking before, just getting those two dates kind of in my head, like which one's which. And it was at 03 BC. So that's why the Twin Towers happened on 9/11, because they wanted to take away, they wanted to I don't know, mar the date even more, even though they've stolen it from us, like nobody really knew it, that it was 9/11. So we're getting it back, we're getting the date back. Be very interesting to see what happens this 9/11 and what happens before that. Yeah. Oh, and another thing, I talked to Negative 48, his name's Michael, and John. I talked to him about my theory that I talked about a couple of videos ago about Sean Connery, Steve Martin, I'll read them off, Cary Grant, my Cary Grant, Benedict Cumberbatch, Steve Carell, Paul Bettany, and maybe even Gene Wilder being, all taking turns being the Biden. So, yeah, and I was telling him how I saw on Telegram that, they would link to, they would just show all they call them headshots, which is funny because JFK, but anyway, they would show the headshots, which is what you call the photos that they submit through their agent to get a new, part in a movie or TV show. And they would link to somebody, and they would seem to do it on a certain date, and a few of them did it on the exact same date. So they only have photos from the beginning of the Telegram account up to the present day, except on one day they would link to one of these people. So say Sean Connery links to Steve Martin, and it was on a date filled with twos. Follow the twos again. And Cary Grant didn't link, but I still think he's involved. So that's what was going on. They were all linking to each other, and it would only happen one time that they would link to someone. And there was also all these Indian women that a couple of them linked to, and I think that the Indian actresses, are putting full Hollywood masks on, and right before, or maybe the day of the fake inauguration, I think they might have replaced Melania. So anyway, this is so fun. Let's see. What else do I have here that's interesting? I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to skip that because that wasn't too exciting. Yeah, no. Oh, and the book of Esther in the Bible is the 17th book of the Bible. And one of Savan has talked about this before, but it came up again on Negative 48's voice chat. Anyway, I thought it was important to bring up again. And it's all about reversals, like the Jewish people that they wanted to get rid of in the story of Esther, ended up being the ones who got rid of the evil ones, so the Jewish people won over the bad guys in the kingdom. So that's what's happening now. It's being reversed because they only wanted 10% of us to be around as slaves, and they would have gotten rid of 90% of us. And yeah, I don't know if you've heard the story about the dots in the mailboxes. I'm pretty sure I heard this from Juan. I think so. I don't know who else would have said this, but there were blue dots and red dots. And a blue dot meant that, the blue is Democrats and the red dots are conservatives, the Republicans. I mean, it goes right along with the colors for the parties. And I don't know if it counts for mailboxes and stuff, but yeah. So supposedly they were dots, and this would mean that the postmaster was in on everything too. So that's really horrible. But, it seems like anybody in any position of power or companies of any kind were corrupted, and that's how they got there. Anyway, the red dots meant most likely you were going to be picked off or gone somehow. And the blue dots meant if you're on the right list, I suppose, because maybe not all of the blue dots were their people, but the blue dots, you'd have a better chance of surviving. So can you believe this? I mean, the red dots and the blue dots and the mailbox, and I don't know. Anyway, Michael -48 said something else awesome. He said, the point of conception, if you look at a drawing of it with a circle and a line through it, right? The sperm and the egg is a Q, right? I thought that was awesome. Let's see. He said the dead who are martyred will rise first. So JFK Jr., I don't know exactly what that meant. Could mean a lot of things, but that's something he said. He said Washington Swamp is 202 and let's kill them equals 202. That was interesting. He said, I'm still going on with -48 because he says awesome things. Let's see. You'll find out is 174. Remember POTUS saying that when everybody asked him, what storm, Mr. President? And I guess Michael's negative said, President Trump made them ask 3 times before he answered them, because that's like the highest power for a magic spell. When you do something 3 times, remember that old song? You probably don't, but if you're like my age, there was a song, knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me, everything is by 3. Yeah. So you'll find out is 174. POTUS is 174. And he said JFK Jr. as promised is 174. A new JFK world, 174. This is so cool. Don't you, isn't this exciting? Give it up to God, 174. And Lin Wood has been giving comms. I know some people think he's a little bit out on a ledge, but he's not. He's giving comms just like POTUS does. And you can decode him. He called right before this episode was on, well, episode, this chat was on, the live chat. He said he was talking about what Lin Wood had posted, and Lin Wood had called for a sit-in, and that equals 72. It also equals I am alive. So Lin is given good stuff too, so you can look at what he does. Let's see. Oh, and yeah, 9/11. The date 9/11 is 9 times 11, and 99 is most high. And that's Jesus' real birthday. I mean, I always knew that the 25th wasn't his birthday, and that people were kind of not sure what his real birthday was. I thought it was just that they weren't sure, really, but it's really been just hidden and lied about, really. Let's see. Oh, here. Michael said, I don't remember where it was, if it was on Tom's interview or I've got so many notes, but he said scream 2 or 3 times. And anytime you hear someone say something more than once in a short period of time, or emphasize it, like emphasize it the way they're speaking, or if you see it written in quotes, a phrase or a word, like in a newspaper article or a POTUS statement, you can decode that. So Michael said that, and scream is 59, and it equals here I am, which is super important that he said that. Here I am. It equals the God. Here I am, the God. Joker. We know JFK and JFK Jr. and POTUS are like jokers, and they decode to Joker and jokers and their names. So Michael says that, right? When you decode scream. And Keter. And I didn't, it rang a bell that I had seen Keter before, but I wasn't quite sure what that meant. And it was from a U.S. Army tweet. And I knew it was a fake story as soon as I started reading it. George News put it out a couple days ago. So U.S., they're giving comms. The Navy is. This is so much fun, you guys. So anyway, it was an article about SPC Keter or Keter, Keter, just like when you decode scream, there it was. And he was in the Army, and he had gone to the Olympics. And you just have to look at the article look at U.S. Army tweets on a search, and you'll see their Twitter, and you just look a couple days ago, then click on the article that's attached to their tweet, and you'll see it. It's hysterical. It's absolutely hysterical. Everything is coded, the numbers. And he was in a steeplechase, and it was in, he finished his heat in 8:17:31. Like, and 8 is infinity and represents God. And so I love articles like that. You just look at it and you just laugh. What else? Let's see. Yeah. Oh, Michael mentioned -48. The sun gave us heat, and the bad guys, worship the sun. And this is so interesting. He said this. On the 21st of December, the sun is still moving. And let's see. It's still moving south. So he said they're lying to us. He called it the sun dying on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. In 3 days, it doesn't move north or south. And on Christmas Day, 25th, let's see if I want to make sure I get this right. Oh, it stands still. Yeah, it stands still. Obviously, I didn't reread these notes right before I got on here. I don't know. And 4 stars make a perfect cross up in the sky. And he said, and then he mentioned about the wise men, And he said, were the wise men there to see Jesus, like in a good way? Or were they there to kill him? And, everything and all the movies and stories, all the history we know is completely backwards. So I guess that doesn't surprise me that the wise men who were supposed to be bringing gifts were really there to get rid of him. No wonder he fled to Egypt. Let's see. Fall of the Cabal is 104. This is all from Michael again. JFK is alive is 104. And that's JFK's age right now, like I said earlier. And there's a chapter, I know this bounces around, but that's kind of what he does when he's giving you all these codes. -48, Michael. There's a chapter in JFK's book where he wrote about different senators and how courageous they were in different points in their lives. And the book is called, if you didn't know, Profiles in Courage. And there's, I guess, he knew, well, he knows everything. JFK knows everything. he wrote in one of the chapters, it's called Death of Joe. And I think there was a couple more articles, at least, chapters, at least, that were along the same vein, that, you know, knowing things ahead of time. Yeah, this was interesting. Negative 48 said, every now and then I like to have some fun. This is during the chat, the voice chat on Telegram. And I can tell when it's something important you're supposed to figure out. So every now and then I like to have some fun equals 455. 4 is foundation in the Bible, and 55 is 5 is grace, and 55 for us in Gematria is JFK Jr. It's also Melania. So the time it equals, listen to this, 455. The time has come for him to show who I really am. For him to show who I really am. So that's pretty exciting. So negative 48, Michael, he calls JFK the anointed one. And that's 149. And unfortunately, I didn't figure out 149. But anyway, so you can do it on gematrix.org. The anointed one. Sorry, I didn't have that one. And he said Patrick Bouvier Kennedy, Bouvier was Jackie's maiden name, is not dead, which I pretty much knew before I was, done with Twitter in January. Yeah, because before, when I was still on Twitter, I used to talk to Patrick. Well, not a lot, but, off and on, I talk to Patrick. And he talked about Libya and the Middle East all the time. And he did Gematria, so that's one of the reasons I really liked reading his posts. And I don't know if he's still on Twitter. He could possibly still be on Twitter. You can check. I can't check. I can't do anything with Twitter. But, yeah, so Negative said that Patrick he's alive. He didn't die in the hospital 3 days after he was born didn't die in August 1963. And sounds like he was moved to be with another family. He didn't say that exactly, but that's kind of what it sounds like. Kind of like what maybe happened with POTUS, with a different birth date. That could be what's happening. So anyway, so Patrick has a PhD in Middle Eastern Studies, and he has a master's in building. So lately, Patrick was I know, all these people were some other, not just one other person, a whole bunch of other people through history, all through time. So he was a builder too, just like POTUS. And Sabrina Gal, if you know her, she's on the negative 48 chat, the voice chat. I'm not sure if she's a mod or not, but anyway, Sabrina Gal, she might still be on Twitter. She's working on I think it sounds like a video called the Jesus Strand, and Negative said that that's the AB negative line. And to be honest with you, the more I learn about blood types, the more I think that our blood types are like corrupted, and they've just messed with us so bad. It seems like we should all have the same blood type. We're all created by God, right? Seems like we should all have the same blood type. Should we all be AB negative? I mean, that's just something I'm throwing out there. Because now AB negative is the most rare blood type, and I think he said it was less than 1% of the population of the whole world. Now I'm going on to something completely different with him. So Negative says, the game of golf, we were talking about Tiger Woods now. He said the game of golf is the king's game. you know, the game of kings, I should say. And somebody was talking to him on the chat about what's up with Tiger Woods, what happened to Tiger Woods, and I think they might have asked him about the medal that President Trump gave him. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is what he said. They never wanted a black man to be on top of the game. So they made him swing in the 13th round. So they were blackmailing him, or they threatened him or his family. That's usually what these people do. They made him swing in the 13th round, and he had to pretend he hurt his back. So that was it, you know, for him. Yeah, that's really terrible. But that happens to so many people. They're manipulated and threatened to do things the way that these evil people want. And Tiger Woods had a car accident, and Negative was saying that there's chips in the cars, which I knew about, you know. I thought maybe they were on certain cars, but he said, remember the garbage truck that was on the train tracks? You know, when the Republicans were off to their retreat, it was a trip, and they were all on the same train, most of them. And a garbage truck went on the train tracks. Well, he said that was the garbage truck was maneuvered by the chip that was in there, and the driver died. But a drone, I remember this from figuring it all out ages ago. Negative didn't say this, but that a drone went ahead of the train. I think they were anticipating something going wrong, you know. So a drone went out ahead, and they saw what was developing on the tracks, and so the engineer of the train slowed the train down so it didn't hit like it probably, you know, like it would have. It would have been going a lot faster, and people would have died and all on the train. Yeah. And he said, of course we all remember the Ever Given, the ship in the Suez Canal, because it wasn't all that long ago anyway. But he said, this is funny. All these people have such a sense of humor, even with this. I mean, I know it's really serious what's going on, but you know, they do have a sense of humor, and it helps, for me anyway. It lightens things up a little bit. So Ever Given, when you decode that, is 27 equals Dick, okay? Equals Dick equals JFK, okay? So, and he said all the other ships, I didn't know this part, all the other ships in the canal had their chips manipulated too, so they weren't in the way. And that's how we, the good guys, I'm including myself in that, like I have anything to do with it, but the good guys could maneuver those ships out of the way and give the Ever Given room so they could control the Ever Given to do the genitalia symbol that they maneuvered, you know, the male, to so you could see it from above. I just think it's so funny. And Suez Canal, in case you didn't know, is Zeus backwards. So Zeus, I think JFK, or I think at this moment in time anyway, I think JFK Jr. was Zeus. I used to think it was POTUS, but maybe it's really all three of them. They're all combined. Yeah. I don't have that. So, he was talking about after the global currency reset, and he was saying that, and I know this from Mr. Cottrell, like I was saying, he's on Original Mark Z on Fridays, except this Friday. If someone starts a war, or they try to start a war, they'll be cut out of the world, basically. They won't be able to do anything. I think that means their money won't even be worth anything to anybody else, and they'll be in deep trouble. And their people will probably turn on them. I don't know what'll happen, but he said psychos might try, but you know, psychos vesicles. They can try it, but it's not going to go anywhere. And he said, to get the reset money, or to get the new valuation, which will really radically change in the poor countries, go up a lot, you have to be in your own country. And he said there'll be a whole lot of self-deporting going on. So people who are here and really shouldn't be, they'll be going back to their own countries to get what they want to get, and they won't get anything from being here. Yeah. And negative says, really, like, in the same way, I didn't say it right, the way Juana Saban does. And I was like, okay, we're getting into that spot where I'm thinking that's who this is, negative 48. And I don't know if you know Elizabeth, TikTok Elizabeth, I think of her as. She's on TikTok, but she's been on Tom's show, Tom Number's show, and lots of other shows. And she did a video where she compared Junior speaking at his mom's funeral, reading a Bible quote, and then she got negative on, and she said, yeah, and to me it was the same person, but I don't know how many other people thought that, but to me it was the same person, negative 48, and John and Juan all wrapped up into one. And I know it's a different accent, but Juan has been putting on an accent, sounding kind of like he's from Pennsylvania, I don't know, but that's what's going on. And Michael said that on the notes I was taking, he said a sense of wonder. You have to have a sense of wonder. And he said a sense of wonder a few times. So I looked at a sense of wonder, and that's 163, and that equals the Lord on earth, make America great again. I am a December ID birthday. So here we go back to the December 7th. Like, I know it gets confusing, but that's what's going on. God is here, be careful. That's another one. Full armor of God. Let's see. And he mentions half a brain, and I know that was a reference back to Dad, JFK. And I mean, he didn't say that, but that's the reference I took. And half a brain is 7-2, and equals Dogecoin. I think that's how you say it. Dogecoin, DOGECOIN. So there's a lot of comms that I've been getting about. That's one of the cryptos that will still be here after all this is said and done. There's probably going to be just a small handful. Mr. Cottrell said the same thing, not about that one in particular, but that there might be 4 or something in his opinion. And that's just an opinion. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. So half a brain equals money, rocket. POTUS is always talking about rocket all the time. So if you looked up rocket back when POTUS was saying it all the time, economy will take off like a rocket, or rocket ship to the moon. Rocket equals Dogecoin. So that's just something to think about. And I am alive, half a brain, 7-2 equals I am alive and reborn. In the Bible, it always says you must be born again. And we always thought, well, that means you got to believe in God and Jesus, and especially Jesus, I should have said. And, there's supposed to be 777 books of the Bible. And there's 66, which is, the evil ones took all this other stuff out. So there's so much we don't know. And there was different books in the Bible that were removed, that have been removed for a long time. And they talk about reincarnation. So that's probably what reborn means. see. Oh, and he said that you can decode JFK Jr.'s plane crash to the date of the election. So this was, they knew when all this was going to happen. They knew what they were going to do. This is not being played out like by the skin of anyone's teeth. This is like so planned. So the plane crash was on 7/16/99. And if you, let's see, you add up 7 plus the 1 from the 16, 7 plus 1 is 8. Then you add the 6, and you add 99 for the year, and it's 11/3/113. It's just amazing. Michael Jackson, for his last concert, it was called This Is It, and during the rehearsals of it is when he supposedly died from that overdose from the doctor and all that stuff. Yeah, and This Is It equals 113 or 11/3, you know, or 1 through 11/13. And negative Michael John, all the same person, said MJ's not that wasn't his last concert. So I went to see the movie This Is It when it came out right after he supposedly died. I was so sad. Yeah, let's see. And 11/3, I should say 113 from the election and from the decoding of the date of the plane crash that equals 113 equals not true. So 113, if you look it up in gematrix.org, equals not true. So the plane crash was not true. And the election results were not true. And that was planned a long time ago. And he said Kobe Bryant isn't dead. I had a feeling he wasn't dead just from the rubble. It didn't look like legit rubble from a helicopter crash. So Kobe Bryant's going to come back and take down sports, all the bad stuff that's going on in sports, all the controlled scores, all that stuff. And he said, listening to him, he bounces all over the place. So my notes bounce all over the place. He said George W. Bush wasn't in the casket at the funeral on December 5th on D5. Yeah, he said there's no way in hell that POTUS would be in the room when, or President Trump would be at that funeral when he's the one that planned JFK's assassination. And this is fascinating. I never looked at it this way. He said that CPAC this year, CPAC, Conservative Political Action Committee, in 2021 was legally the State of the Union. And I don't remember, but I think it was February 28th. Anyway, by a certain date in the Constitution, you have to give a statement. Back then, before television and radio, it was just a letter to Congress saying, this is what's going on, this is the State of the Union. So Washington would have done that. So, back when it all started being on television, that's what they did. They didn't have to do a letter. So CPAC's speech was POTUS's State of the Union address. So isn't that cool? And so then he goes back to the George H.W. Bush funeral. You know how we always wanted to know what the funeral letters were. And he said that they were different. So they didn't all say the same thing. Like he said that Hillary was really concentrating on it. And Laura Bush got it from the Secret Service agent behind her, and they just had to glance at it. Jeb and Laura just had to glance at it, and they knew what it was. And he said, I believe it's a photo of uh, George H.W. in an orange jumpsuit in front of Gitmo with two jokers, probably one on either side, like entering Gitmo or Guantanamo Bay or the sign up there. So that was interesting. And like I said, negative is JFK Jr. So he knows what was in the envelope. He knows. And then he says Karen Pence was liquidated the day before Vice President Pence, not the one we saw that was the substitute, clone or mask, whatever he was. I mean, he totally doesn't look like the other Pence. Just look at comparative pictures. It's especially the one where there's a photo of President Trump and Melania and the Pences up on the balcony at the White House, and it was on an Easter a couple of years ago, and he is not that person that we've been watching this past, the last year of the administration. He's totally not. You'll see it if you just look at that picture. So he said Karen was liquidated the day before the vice president. So I'm thinking that's the date. Whatever day that was, that's the day that Junior was likely vice president. Or maybe it was before that. It was after the tribunal. Yeah, could have been. Let's see. This is going on way too long. Oh, this is cool. These things. Now I saw. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Jim Morrison from The Doors. I don't love The Doors, but anyway, Jim Morrison. And I remember, hearing about Jim Morrison, and was he, with the CIA, and I don't know, just wondering about all that stuff. Guess who Jim Morrison became when he was gone? Rush Limbaugh. Can you believe this? I can't. And he said, if you look at the photos, Jim Morrison has a bump on his left cheek, and so does Rush Limbaugh. And negative is definitely given stuff that you guys need to listen to. Let's see. Oh, and he said Princess Diana will take down the kings and the queens and the royal cabal stuff that goes on through the whole world, earth, whatever. He said Morgan Freeman, I didn't know if he was a good guy or not, but obviously he's a good guy. Morgan Freeman was Jimi Hendrix. Can you believe this? So I read a little bit about Jimi Hendrix, and for the 4 years he was, playing, involved in his career, he was famous for his electric guitar. Guess where they placed Morgan Freeman for his first job, on TV or in the movies? They put him in the PBS kids show, The Electric Company, which is kind of like a Sesame Street for a little bit older kids. And I used to watch that. I used to watch The Electric Company. So he goes from being famous for the electric guitar to go on the show, The Electric Company. These people are so funny. And I saw the Jimi Hendrix as a real young man in a Clouseau video. He's standing out there like by himself. And behind President Trump at rallies, there's no way there's space behind him. They don't do that. they don't have big gaps next to people. So they had him out there with probably enough room for 2, maybe even 3 people on either side of him. So he kind of stood out, in the crowd back there. And he looks so young, and he's young and probably healed from whatever was going on with him. That's what I think. Let's see. And I think I might have mentioned before that I keep getting decodes that will probably become vegans or vegetarians at some point because of what we find out is going on with meat. And it happens so often. So Michael, John, Juan, all the same person, -48, said, he's into nutrition, so that's part of his persona. So he said, somewhere it says, and anyway, somewhere it says, an organism in pork cannot cook out, and this organism causes cancer. There goes all the barbecue places. I mean, kind of depressing, but that's what he said, and I believe everything he says at this point. I really do. And he says, so this is how he worded it: an organism in pork cannot cook out and can cause cancer. He doesn't say it does, but he says can cause cancer. And he says, somewhere it says, don't eat hooved or cud chewing animals. That's in the Bible. So here he is saying, somewhere it says. And he says you should have protein with something sweet, and then he brings up Elvis. Now, he hasn't said anything about Elvis, but I know Elvis is alive too, because I've seen him too many different times. Clouseau videos and different rallies, and there was an Elvis online. It was either White Hats or was the Elvis posting on Twitter, and there were all kinds of pictures, and I have some screenshots of what he posted of him at different ages when he went undercover. He went undercover, I think it was for the FBI when President Nixon was in office. And anyway, you could probably find that paper online when he asked President Nixon if he could do that. And then he mentions drugs, and he wasn't talking about illegal drugs. He was talking about prescription drugs. He said drugs are a petroleum-based product, which I didn't know that either. I figured there was awful stuff in it that they're messing with our brains and our bodies with. He said drugs are a petroleum-based product that doesn't cure anything. I'm not saying to stop taking drugs or your medicine, but that's what he said. And he said illegal drugs will be cut down in a huge way because there won't be any CIA around. And he said med beds will heal people. So I think what will happen is med beds will heal people, and then you're supposed to keep, stay healthy. You're supposed to take care of yourself. Let's see. Someone on the chat said how it's a dumb situation. And he said there's a few in Canada, as far as he knows, there's a few left in Canada and China. And he said there's more in Africa. So, pray for Africa, pray for the troops, the alliance, to keep them safe and to get things done that they have to do, rescue the children, pray for the children. And he mentioned that someone asked about some cryptocurrency. And he said, and like I said, he's John. So he said XRP will be quite valuable. And he said we'll be using Starlink, all those satellites that have been getting placed up there. and Ledger. I don't know about Ledger, but whatever it is, he said we'll be using Starlink and Ledger, and it'll make blockchain a dinosaur. Well, he said blockchain is a dinosaur. They've been running this parallel to the money system we're still on. So they've been running the QFS parallel, and one of these days we'll just flip. And I knew this before, but he emphasized it. Tesla technology uses silver. So another hint right there. And he said XLM backed by silver. I thought they were the same thing, XRP, XLM, but I don't know enough about that. And he said silver in Gematria is 85 and storm is 85. So that's not a coincidence, I'm sure. And he mentioned hemp oil will be used as fuel in place of at least some oil or all oil. I know Tesla will take over a lot of, the oil industry, but he said hemp oil will be involved in energy too. So I thought that was really interesting. Oh, this is taking too long. I think I'm going to end it right now. I'm going to go into more of what he said on the next video. He was on the Roseanne show, and I'll go into what I figured out about all that and decoding it. Hopefully I'll do it really soon. So anyway, I hope I didn't overwhelm you guys, but it's just too exciting, and I just love all this. And I hope you are excited about it too, and that you're having some fun, and try to take a break, get outside and walk on the grass if you can, and just you're so blessed to be alive right now. I know I am, and it's just so awesome. It's like a big puzzle, and we're putting all the pieces together. And like Hugh said, our favorite Anon said, it's biblical, and it really is. This whole thing is biblical. So take care, and have a good night or day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.